Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, said the re-election of former President Trump would be the end of democracy in an interview released Saturday by The Guardian. It will be the end of democracy, functional democracy, Sanders said in the interview. The Vermont senator also said in the interview that he thinks that another round of Trump as the president will be a lot more extreme than the first. He's made that clear, Sanders said. There's a lot of personal bitterness. He's a bitter man. Having gone through 4 indictments, humiliated, he's going to take it out on his opponents, on his enemies. We've got to explain to the American people what that means to them, what the collapse of American democracy will mean to all of us. Sanders' words echo those President Biden made in a recent campaign speech during which he said that Trump's return to the presidency would risk American democracy. The president highlighted the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol in an attempt to cement a point about Trump and other Republicans espousing a kind of extremism that was seen by the world on that day. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future. He's willing to sacrifice democracy to put himself in power, Biden said in a speech that took place near Valley Forge. And on the day before the third anniversary of the January 6th attack, Biden also said that Trump's false claim about the 2020 election never could stand up in court. The legal path just took Trump back to the truth that I'd won the election, he was a loser, Biden said. Trump lost 60 court cases, 60. Trump lost the Republican controlled states. Trump lost before a Trump appointed judge and then judges. And Trump lost before the United States Supreme Court. All of them he lost. Trump lost recount after recount after recount and state after state, he said. So, before we get into Sanders' comments here, I just want to point out that I don't think I've ever had a politician, and I know that people get obsessed with the presidency and they have, they spend billions of dollars, but I truly don't think I've ever had a single politician's, I guess, rise make me more uncomfortable than Trump's. Like, back in 2016, there was the unknown quality, and, I criticized him for wanting to do a Muslim ban and a lot of the immigration rhetoric, just various things. But there was like that, we don't know what he is, who he's, just that type of thing where people were more like open to trying something that they thought was different. And then when he took office, you had a lot of the same old conservative, jargon, a bunch of right wing judges and uh, you know tax cut for the rich, various things. But when you got to that last week or so, and really those last 2 months, the election was stolen, the election was stolen. And if you look at his rhetoric since then, where he calls himself retribution and uh, calling people vermin, I'm I'm really worried one way or the other what's going to happen, whether he wins or loses. It's obviously more frightening for some people if he wins, but I just think we're going to end up getting January 6th again if he doesn't make it, because he will never believe that he actually lost. That's the way this stuff goes. And I had this one person, I forget, I was doing a Carrie Lake video, and he came in there and he was like, "You failed to mention the Democrats always say that they lost by the election." He was like, "Yeah, the Democrats definitely staged an insurrection and tried to get the results overturned by having their supporters storm the Capitol." Totally the same thing to just say you question the result. Yep, absolutely. But there is a very real possibility that Trump does something. I don't know what it could be that undermine. And I try to explain. I know that I'm a progressive channel. I try to not sound like Joe Scarborough or any of these other people on MSNBC and CNN, but I'm I'm serious when I tell you that the Republicans are a cult, and in following behind their dear leader, they're pretty much willing to go to any extreme. And for that reason, I could absolutely see Republican senators and congressmen going, "Oh, Trump wants a third term or a fourth or a fifth, or just to be king, or to put uh, Biden or Obama or Hillary in jail just for the hell of it." Well, in Hillary's case, it would. But anyways, it's like, yeah, okay, sure. They have shown that most of them, there's a few exceptions, will do pretty much anything he wants, or that they think will put them in good graces with his base, and that really does scare me. Like, that a lot of his enabling just comes from cowardly politicians who want to see either themselves stay in office or advance their career in some other position down the line. Um, and Sanders is right for that. Now, the one thing I'll say, and I always have to throw this in there, is I hate when left wing politicians talk about their desire to protect democracy and keep democracy going, and democracy is so great and we need to preserve it all. These are all statements that I think anyone that watches this would agree with. But then it's like you look at the Democratic primary, you have three challengers to Biden, um, one of whom has been running against him since March of last year. Marianne Williamson, Cenk, and then Phillips. And not a single time do you see Sanders come out and say, the Democrats should hold debates to preserve democracy and have a spirited primary. Nothing. Like, I was fine with him endorsing Biden right after he announced his re-election bid. I was completely okay with that. But he just won't speak up on the fact that a lot of these Democratic officials are just not interested in preserving the democracy that they claim Trump is going to destroy. So that's the one part of his comment that just kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I really wish he would say something about it. I think if he said something about it and these other politicians did, it would have an impact. But they all want to, toe the line for, Biden 2024. So here we are again.